The Shure SM7B is an extremely popular mic. So much so that it's probably the most counterfeited mic in history. Now just go on eBay or AliExpress and do a little search for SM7B and you'll immediately find a ton of fake mics for sale. But how do you tell a real one from a fake one? Especially if you don't have a real one to compare with. And, the problem is both Shure and the counterfeiters are changing things all the time. Some of the older YouTube videos I've watched on fake SM7Bs are completely out of date. And I know you're gonna wanna hear how these two mics compare in sound quality. So I promise we're gonna get to that. And then the ultimate question, should you risk buying a fake? We are gonna cover all of that in this video. But first, are you wondering why I own a fake Shure SM7B at all? Well, okay, so here's the backstory. A couple of years ago, I was looking on eBay to see if there were any used Shure SM7Bs available. Since I do a lot of mic reviews, it really made sense for me to own an SM7B. It's such an iconic mic, and people want to hear how other mics compare to it. But I didn't want the mic for regular use because I've got plenty of good mics, and SM7Bs, at least new, are not cheap. Currently, the unpowered version lists for $499 new. I just didn't want to spend that kind of money on a mic I'd only use probably occasionally. I made a video about my search for a used SM7B and what a disaster it almost was, which I'll link to at the end of this video. But the short version is, I thought I'd found the deal. The listing claimed it was a new open box mic. And so I messaged the seller and they assured me it was authentic, but it wasn't. So I returned it, and fortunately, I got my money back. But after I returned it, I got to thinking the fake mic had actually sounded pretty good. Now, maybe I should have kept it, but it's a fake, and I had no way to, really compare to a real one to know what the difference was. So earlier this year, I decided I would buy another fake mic on purpose. I know. I just had to know if these fakes sounded as good as I remembered. I was able to find one for $150, so I bought it, and this time I was under no illusions about it being real. Unfortunately, when it arrived, it wasn't working properly. The sound was muffled and just really bad. So I took it apart because that's what I do, and I saw that the mic capsule was tilted at kind of an angle. Now, this is something that could actually happen to a real SM7B as well. The capsule sits inside this sort of rubber shock absorption ring, but it's not, as far as I can tell, nailed down in any way. So it's just using the friction of the elastic rubber to keep the actual capsule in place. So a good solid drop could move the capsule just completely out of whack. That's probably what happened. So I complained to the seller and said, hey, I want to return it. And they said, how about if they refund me $50 and I get it repaired? And I thought, well, first of all, where am I going to get it repaired? And what if I repaired it? And then I could just keep the rebate or the refund or whatever. So that's what I did. I straightened out the capsule myself. It took me about 10 seconds, and I took that discount. Now I had a fixed but fake Shure SM7B, and I got it for a pretty good price. So how did it sound after I fixed it? Well, I'll tell you about that in about 10 seconds. But first, if you're interested in checking out what the real Shure SM7B currently goes for, and it's a lot, please use my affiliate links down in the description. And if you want to see what counterfeit ones go for, I'm not going to help you with that. So how does the fake one sound? Well, pretty decent. You're actually listening to it right now. But buying a fake mic didn't actually solve any of my problems. It's not like I was going to use the fake mic to compare other mics with, and claiming it was a real SM7B would be really dishonest, and honesty is really important. So all I could do was use it on videos that weren't mic reviews. So recently I decided to bite the bullet and buy a real one. And I waited until the real SM7B went on sale, but it was still ridiculously expensive. And then when I got it, I immediately took it apart. Okay, so I have both mics now just so we can kind of bounce back and forth and we can compare as I'm telling you about, how to actually tell the difference between the two physically. And so this is the fake one here, and this is the okay, so this is the fake one, this is the real one. And the mics are shockingly similar in appearance, and the fake one's build quality, it looks pretty good. So now I finally have a chance to compare a fake one and a real one. And I've noticed that some of the telltale signs of a fake that were mentioned in older videos it just doesn't apply anymore. So let's take a look at what the differences actually are. Now, the packaging on these two mics is obviously different. However, the fake mic has just copied an older version of Shure's actual packaging as far as I can tell. And if you go on AliExpress, you can find both versions of that packaging listed. Although you'll notice that the Shure brand is photoshopped out of the ad in the photo, but it's still on the box. So packaging alone won't tell you if you've got a fake one or not. One sign it's a fake that older videos talk about is this backplate with the Shure logo. And at one point, the fake mics had the registered trademark symbol and the real ones didn't. Now, that's not the case anymore, and it wasn't the case even when I bought the first fake one a couple of years ago. There's a slight difference in the appearance of the pop filters between these two mics, but they're pretty close, and there's no way to use that as a telltale if you only had one mic in front of you. Now, if we pull off the pop filter, however, this is another example of where the older comparison videos, they just don't hold up anymore. You used to be able to tell by looking at the height of the capsule behind the grill. The fake ones had a higher capsule. It was pushed more forward. But these two capsules are roughly the same height, so that's out. And remember, the height of the capsule is determined by that rubber shock mount inside and how far the capsule is jammed into it. So the height could conceivably vary even when comparing real mics. I don't know. Now, if you take off the grill, otherwise known as the head basket, you can see some subtle differences in the actual capsule of the mic. The yellow tape around it is roughly the same, but the top of the diaphragm itself is different. If you take off that backplate, however, you can see some more differences. For example, this ring that the backplate screws into, which is part of the chassis or the body of the mic, is bare metal on the real one, but black on the fake. Likewise, the back of the backplate is metal on the real Shure and black on the fake one, which is kind of funny. It's almost like the fake one, they actually went to more trouble to make it look nice inside. But anyway, that's not important. So on the back plate, you've got switches, and they're held by what I'm calling a switch plate. And the metal used to be a giveaway as well, but both of these use brass. There's no aluminum or steel like the fakes apparently used to have. Now, if you take the switch plate off, the wires are different. The fake one uses a more standard red wire, and the real one has a yellow wire. But all these obvious differences are on the inside of the mic, and most people are going to be a little cautious about taking their mic apart, so these differences aren't that helpful to the average user. So is there anything about the outside of the mic that gives away the fact that it's fake? Well, yeah, two things actually. First off, and this has been true for many years, we can look at the yoke, and that's the bit that holds the mic to the mic stand. Now, these knobs on the side, they tighten and loosen so you can adjust your mic position. Now, on the fake one, they don't tighten down enough. You can tighten it as much as you want, but it will not keep the mic from moving if you even just gently tweak it by hand. The real SM7B does a better job of holding the mic in place. It's not perfect though, mind you, and you still can move it if you push it. So Shure could have done a better job on the thumb screws there. Like for example, my Lauten Audio LS-208, the shock mount for that, it's amazing. It's rock solid. You tighten those knobs and it is not moving even if you threw it across the driveway. So, for a similar setup, anyway, I'm getting off topic because this isn't a review of the Lauten LS-208, which is an excellent microphone, by the way. But back to the Shure SM7B. So the difference between how well you can tighten this is pretty obvious. Like if I go like that, it's just moving. This pretty much staying in place. So I think you could safely judge a fake mic on this aspect alone, even without having a real one as an example. The other telltale that you can use, even if you don't have a real Shure mic to compare with, is maybe kind of obvious in hindsight. It's the serial number. Now, when I entered the fake serial number into Shure's product finder, it said product not found, but the real one immediately pops up with the correct mic description. Even if that mic has been registered already, like if it was a used microphone that you bought and someone had already registered, it will still show up identifying the correct microphone. So that might be a way to tell if the mic is real before you buy it. Just ask the buyer, what's the serial number, and see if the serial number is legit on Shure's website. Okay, so let's say you bought a fake SM7B by accident, like I did the first time. does it sound like the original? So I've compared these microphones using all their EQ settings, and I got to say the real SM7B just has a nicer low end. It's a well supported low end. I don't know really how to describe it. It's very distinctive and very familiar because you've been hearing radio DJs on this microphone for years and years. So it just has a little bit more beefy low end compared to the fake one. Now, that doesn't make the fake one sound bad because, their mics have different characteristics, and this mic sounds as good as some mics that are twice as much as this mic. I'm not saying you should buy a fake one. I'm just saying they do sound different, and if you're looking for that exact SM7B sound, then you want an actual SM7B. But is it worth the risk of buying a fake Shure SM7B? Well, first off, it's unethical. You're putting money into the pockets of scammers, and the fake mic doesn't have the sound of the original. It sounds decent, but not the same. So you wouldn't purposely buy a fake mic if you wanted the SM7B sound, because you wouldn't get it. Now, some people might buy it because they want people to think that they own an SM7B when they don't, but that's kind of icky, I think. Also, I've heard a lot of reports of defective fake mics. If your mic arrives and it's making all sorts of noise, or the capsule is all wonky like on mine, you might have trouble getting your money back. Yes, the mic sounds pretty decent, or at least this particular one sounds pretty decent. But you know what? You can get decent sounding dynamic mics for cheaper than even the knockoff SM7B. In fact, here's a whole bunch of budget dynamic mics that are a safer bet than a counterfeit. And if you're curious, here's another video down here where I tell you about my journey with the first one.